So before I can really tell you about the purpose of this evening is, we need to step back and understand the purpose of what this conference is for. And to do that requires us to understand what the law is. So very straightforward, the law is a social institution. Its power comes from those who are able to make it, write it, interpret it, and advocate using it. And when you look at the history of disenfranchisement of our people, you realize we've been under-included, but implicit biasing and explicit racism has been over-included. And that over-inclusion gives us a system that isn't really built for us because it was definitely designed to disadvantage us. And if we're going to rectify this, then we need to empower a generation to go ahead, come through, get the training, to then go make a difference so that our children are able to live out the dream that our parents had and being able to be fully empowered masters of their own destiny and not deal with systemic oppression along the way. This is why we have this conference. And we have this ceremony in particular to celebrate those who are the leaders making the impact to make this world a world we can be fully included within. And what makes this really special is these people show you and end a very problematic myth, and that you cannot be somebody from an HBCU. That is the biggest myth in the world. You saw Willie Gary. If you look at the Obama administration, you see HBCU grads in terms of the Secretary of Homeland Security. You see him in his cabinet. You see it in everything we do. And where we're celebrating these people for is using the law to make a difference for all of us. That's what the purpose is for, to celebrate those who have not just had an impact, but people who understood success is more than just the billions they get. It's more than the titles they get. But it's about how many people they can move and inspire to make a difference for the people we all care about. That's why we're here. And so I'd like now to us take the time to first give a round of applause for all of tonight's honorees. They deserve it. And stand up! And now I would like to ask for all of our honorees to please move forward. Come on down. Yeah, we'll get the intros. Come on. And now I would like to ask for the future lawyers to come up. Please stand over here. No, the future lawyers in particular. All right, so there's a certain section of future lawyers who were invited to do introductions, and we'd like to have them come up. I'm sorry about that. Oh, but all of them, if y'all want to come up, never mind. I've been wrong.
Not all the sure, but the ones who are making introductions.
Yeah, that was my point. That was the thing I was just, yeah. All right, we're on the same page. So everybody doing the do introductions, please come forward. All right, step up.
Okay. Ready to introduce them?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Get on that. We're together. You did two a person. Okay. Good evening, everyone. I want to thank everyone for being here tonight. My name is Kiana Harris. I'm a senior criminal justice student at the unsinkable Albany State University and also a future lawyer.
Good evening, everyone. My name is H. Fuller. I am a graduate of John C. Smith University with a bachelor's in communication arts. And here tonight, we will be introducing you to the Honorable Attorney, Ricky Anderson. Y'all give him applause. All right. Mr. Anderson. You got that right. All right. Mr. Anderson here is an alumni of Prairie View A&M University with a bachelor's in business administration. And he also has a Juris Doctor degree at the Texas Southern University at the famous Thurgood Marshall School of Law. Give him applause for that. He also happens to be the managing partner of the managing partner of the Law Firm Association of Anderson and Smith PC. And in turn of this, he is one of the best African American and assembly lawyers because he serves as an inspiration to all the African Americans, especially for African American men just like me, that you can be anything that you want to be if you just put your mind to it.
Mr. Ricky Anderson also holds the annual Ricky Anderson Golf Classics in efforts to raise money for law students to attend the Black Entertainment and Sports Lawyer Agency Conference at no cost. Anderson is a very driven and selfless individual because he gives back with no expectations of return. That's an honorable man. Mr. Anderson is also an inspiration to me because he's a double HBCU alum, and he's an inspiration to all future attorneys that's in this building and outside of this building today. I am very, very honored to introduce such an inspiring man. So without further ado, would you all help me welcome the Honorable Ricky Anderson.
Well, thank you. I always thank God for my being here, and it's an honor to be amongst you students. And the one thing about touching a microphone at night is you either better be fast or you better be funny. I'm not funny, so I'm going to move pretty quickly because there's really only three things I want to note to you. I want to make sure that you understand what's in front of you when you're taking the journey to greatness. And that's what's expected of you. And I say that because being recognized and inducted into a Hall of Fame, it means you've done something notable. And those that have been the perceivers of that activity, meaning be it your constituents, be it your colleagues, they've recognized that you've made some contributions that have been a great assistance to your particular area of practice. So being inducted into the Pre-Law Hall of Fame, I'm certainly honored, but I'm also humbled. And I say that because you are at a point where you're getting ready to begin your journey. Not only as a lawyer, but I lecture at Thurgood Marshall School of Law, and I've been there for 19 years. Yeah, I think that you guys are on the way. I said I've been there for 19 years. That should mean something. I've observed students that have come in from where you are to those that are practicing like Chris Stewart, that have done the great things that makes us proud. I believe that we all can agree that my fellow honorees have done something great. And I've got to take a deep breath and a pause and say, please, to my fellow honorees, I salute you, and I'd ask that you applaud them, please. There's two things you got to look at in your life. And it's one thing that you've got to strive for, and that's greatness. You got to strive for greatness. And I'm not sure that you know what that is, but greatness means you've done something great or something that's noteworthy. It means that you've done it better than anyone else or just as well. So with that being said, every great accomplishment that was believed to be impossible comes true. So you must remain focused on your journey to greatness and be not afraid of that greatness. There's a writer that once wrote, some are born with greatness, some to truly achieve greatness, and some often have greatness thrust upon them. Well, I say that because I'm from a small town in southwest Michigan. And I often challenge people when I speak to say, if your town is smaller than mine, I'd like to know where it's at so I could visit it. I'm from Benton Harbor, Michigan. Benton Harbor, Michigan is in southwest Michigan, and it's 4 miles by 4 miles square. Is there anybody city smaller than that? I came from a single-parent family home. I'm from a family of 4, and I'm the only one to graduate high school. I tell you that because I love my sisters, I love my family, but I'll tell you what made the difference in my life, and it was an education. So I say that so that you recognize the value of what you're getting in these HBCUs that you attend. I say it proudly, I am a double HBCU graduate. And to be inducted into the Pre-Law Hall of Fame is just something that's priceless. I respect it, and it says something about being in the Hall of Fame. Either you're getting older or you've done something well. So with that being said, I want to share 2 other quick things with you. Greatness is expected of you. And the one thing about it is you've got to have a future. My practice area is entertainment law, and it's a very popular area. Whether you know it or not, the gross national product in the United States of America has a monthly report through the U.S. Department of Commerce, and entertainment law is always in the top 10. Look at your options as you go to law school, young people. Understand that that business is not occupied by many that look like me. There's not a major television network that I've not done a deal with, a major record label that I've not done a deal with, but it's very rare that I see someone that looks like us in those rooms, and it's time for that to change. So I say in closing that you have a gift. You may not know what that gift is, but you've got to utilize that gift to direct your future. Your future is inevitable, just based on science. Time never stops. And what is the future? It's whatever is happening outside of this presence. So I want you to take to heart the value of your future and realize that you're building that foundation right now. And I said it was 3 things: greatness, future, and I closed with the word foundation, and I'll tell you why. This is your foundation. I want to applaud Attorney Evangeline Mitchell for allowing this pre-law conference to be your foundation. For those of you that are here, you deserve it. I know that the night has to move swiftly, but I'll say this: the future will happen because it's the time after the present. And I want you to take that to heart and recognize the value of where you're going. So I want you to take an oath with me if you really believe it, because I want to hear how loud this is going to be said by you. I want you to say that we are the future of the legal profession. And I want to hear it, and I want you to mean it if you say it, and if you don't, just don't. So I want to hear it. Are you the future of the legal profession? Can I hear you say, we are the future of the legal profession. Again, I want to thank and salute my fellow honorees. Evangeline Mitchell, I think you deserve a standing round of applause. If you don't, I'm not leaving this mic, and we're going to be here all night. Evangeline Mitchell. I salute your team, I salute you students, and you do deserve a round of applause. And if you want to see me again around next year, I got to make sure you understand what Willie Gary said. There's a good woman in your life, and the one that's been in my life for the last 32 years is sitting right back there. And I thank you, Toy Anderson, for allowing me to attain my greatness. So with that said, I want to hear you one more time. Are you the future? We are the future of the legal profession. Thank you so much for having me. God bless you. That's very nice. Thank you. Yes.
Hello, my name is Shiloh Files, and I am a senior at Clayton State University, majoring in history.
Good evening. My name is Justin Daniels, and I hail from the illustrious Fort Valley State University. I am a junior history major.
We have all heard where much has been given, much will be required. Our next honoree has been a living example of just that. John C. Brattain is a professor of law at the University of District of Columbia. He achieved his BA at Howard University in 1966 and his JD in 1969.
Professor John Brenton, he served as a dean of the Thurgood Marshall School of Law at Texas Southern University in Houston. As a tenure law professor at the University of Connecticut School of Law for 22 years, and as a Chief Counsel Senior Deputy, Director of Lawyers Committee of the Civil Rights under the law in Washington, D.C., a public interest law organization founded by President John F. Kennedy to enlist private lawyers in taking pro bono cases in the civil rights.
Professor Brattain writes and legislates on issues in civil and human rights, especially in education law. In 2015, the Mississippi Center of Justice honored him as a pioneering civil rights leader and esteemed law professor who has inspired a generation of young attorneys.
Professor Brattain was one of the original counsel team in the Shelf versus O'Neill, the landmark school desegregation case decided by the Connecticut Supreme Court in 1996. He was also a member of the legal team that filed a friend of court brief on the behalf of the NAACP and the parents involved in Community Schools versus Seattle School District. Professor Brattain in 1993 was awarded the prestigious William Robert Mean Advocacy by the NAACP. He currently serves as the chairperson of the Northflet Fund Cypress charitable organization. And I leave you with this. Professor Brattain loves reading books, sailing, and enjoys a national ranking for master's runner in his age group. Like the comedian and advocate Dick Gregory, Brattain is a vegetarian who eats no meat, no fish, or fowl. Once again.
Without further ado, it is our pleasure to introduce John C. Brattain.
I like it. Thank you, everyone, for that wonderful introduction. I, too, pay tribute to all of the honorees here tonight for their great inspiration. And I also want to thank Evangeline and the HBCU Pre-Law Conference for bestowing this award on me. I am merely standing on the shoulders of those who had come before me. And like other speakers, I will follow the 3 simple rules, and that is to be intelligent, to be informative, and better sure be quick. And I start off with a little levity in the law with a lawyer who went with a niece hauled into court by a neighbor because the neighbor claimed that the niece's dog barked too loud and created a nuisance. The judge asked the neighbor some questions, but there was no reply. And the judge said to the neighbor, "Are you going to answer my question?" And there was still silence. And all of a sudden, the neighbor jumped up and he said, "Judge, are you talking to me? I can't hear you." And the judge turned to the neighbor, "Case dismissed." So you can see I wasn't made out to be Chris Rock. But let me leave you with one word out of many great thoughts you have heard throughout this pre-law conference. I urge you to find a hero or heroine in the law to guide you and read everything you can about that person and study, and as Willie Gary said, create your own dreams based upon those who come before you. And I'll share my heroes and my heroines. One is Charles Hamilton Houston, the father of the Brown versus Board of Education landmark decision that broke the back of Jim Crow segregation. And as I told you some of the other night, one of my favorite quotes from Charles Hamilton Houston is that he said, "A lawyer is either a social engineer or a parasite on society." Many people know that quote, but what they don't know from Charles Hamilton Houston, who graduated from Harvard Law School in the 1930s, way ahead of Barack Obama. Charles Hamilton Houston was on the law review, but he couldn't get a job like all other Harvard graduates because of segregation. And indeed, he went into the war and he had to fight in an all-black unit because of segregation in the Army. And when he came back, he still couldn't get a job, so he traveled throughout the South and he began to pave the road to Brown versus Board of Education, where, as Jim Douglas would tell you, a former president of Texas Southern University, and now back as the interim dean, Thurgood Marshall is the school that Heman Sweat built. Because in 1947, the Supreme Court decided that the University of Texas could not create a law school for one Negro in the basement of a state building in order to satisfy the 14th Amendment Equal Protection Clause. And that case went all the way up to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court ruled that it was illegal, but Texas Southern continued as a separate school, and therefore it became the Texas Southern University today. But Charles Hamilton Houston also said, "I'd rather stand fighting on my feet for freedom than kneel on my knees and continue to live." So he is one of my great heroes. Another one outside the law was W.E.B. Du Bois, who was the great statesman and intellectual. And W.E.B. Du Bois said at the beginning of the last century, in the early 1900s, that the question of the color line will be the question of the century. And by that, he was referring to the color line during de jure segregation during that era from the late 1860s all the way up to the 1964 Civil Rights Act. So find somebody in history that inspires you. Read all about them and follow them. Today, the nation dedicated the new Smithsonian Museum of African American History and Culture. And the first African American president, dedicated that museum. And you all know that it sits square in the mall, right by the Washington Monument, in clear sight, great architectural design. And it is going to teach us and show us the history of African Americans throughout our existence here since 1619. And I also encourage you to look at other figures. Some of mine have been Judge Constance Baker Motley, who was the only woman on the Brown versus Board of Education team, or some of my colleagues like Lonnie Guinier from Harvard University, or Kimberly Crenshaw from both Columbia and UCLA universities. I see you nodding over there. You know them. And lastly, I leave you with one other, and his name is Amilcar Cabral. And he was a great African revolutionary leader from a little African country called Cape Verde. And Amilcar Cabral said, "Tell no lies and claim no easy victories." Good night, all.
Just one moment, we want to take this picture and give you the award. Thank you so much.
Good evening. My name is Joshua Lockhart. I am a senior at the University of Arkansas at Pine Bluff. I'm double degreeing in history and English, and I will be a future attorney. I'll be introducing Allegra Lawrence Hardy, but she had to leave earlier today because she's the mom of a 5th grade soccer team. But I'll just read off a couple of facts that I found interesting after reading her bio. Allegra focused her practice on business and commercial litigation in labor and employment. Some of her skills were trying cases, negotiating complex settlements, and finding creative solutions. Allegra helps develop process and tools for improving the efficiency and delivery of legal services. And lastly, Allegra was a law clerk for the Honorable Susan H. Black of the U.S. Court of Appeals of the 11th Circuit. Thanks.
Hello, everyone. Hello. My name is Maya Kogan. I'm an attorney at Lawrence and Bundy, and I work with Allegra. And Allegra does send her apologies that she's not able to be here tonight to accept this award, but she did ask for me to come and say a few words on her behalf. So one of the reasons why Allegra asked me to come is because, like Allegra, who graduated from Spelman College, I also graduated from Spelman. Any Spelmanites? Any? So she did ask me to come and represent for Spelman and as well as our fellow HBCUs. So I first met Allegra when I was interviewing for my summer internship when I was a 2L at Harvard Law School. And one of the things that I really admire about Allegra is that she practices what she preaches. She preaches about the importance of diversity and giving back. And she definitely makes that a priority in her life and her career. As one of the few people of color, as particularly in litigation at our prior firm, which shall remain nameless, Allegra was not only a mentor, but she was a sponsor, making sure that I received the types of development and opportunities that some of my other peers were getting, but that some of the other partners might not have been so keen to give to me. So Allegra made sure that I got those same opportunities and opportunities for development, and even better. At the firm Lawrence and Bundy, we recognize the importance of HBCUs, and that's because all of our partners attended HBCU. Allegra went to Spelman. The other founding partner, Thomas Bundy, attended Howard Law School, and we also have John Lewis, who attended Morehouse College. Okay, Morehouse. So we understand the importance of HBCUs and the foundation that it has given to all of us in our legal careers and helping us through law school. I attended Harvard. Allegra went to Yale Law School. And not only through law school, but through our careers. So what Allegra wanted me to share with you all is that she is very proud of you, and she fully believes in your capabilities, not only to be successful in law school, but to be successful in your careers, and as well as being future leaders in your communities. So, thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Charles Brown. I'm a senior political science major, sociology minor at Morehouse College.
And hello, everyone. My name is Alea Caesar, sophomore history major, religious studies minor from Washington, D.C., and I attend Spelman College. And we have the pleasure of introducing attorney Willie E. Gary, also known as the Giant Killer.
At first, I was kind of thinking, how do you follow a video? And with lifestyle, I don't, but I'm gonna just restate some facts here. So a little bit about Mr. Gary. He's one of the country's leading trial attorneys. He was raised throughout Florida, Georgia, and the Carolinas. He earned his bachelor's in business administration from Shaw University. He earned his JD from North Carolina Central University in 1974. He opened his hometown's first African-American law firm, which continues to successfully thrive today. Not only is he an attorney, but also a businessman, a churchman, a humanitarian, and philanthropist.
All right. So I've been following Mr. Gary for quite some time. His story really resonated with me because his work ethic derived from his humble beginnings, like me. He's one of 11, I'm one of 10. And as a first-generation scholar, his story inspired me to challenge the impossible and that everyone is deserving of the same opportunities despite where they come from. Mr. Gary is the male archetype of everything that I aspire to become. Mr. Gary embodies what all future lawyers should have, working long hours and sacrificing to positively influence everyone around them.
So without further ado, we would like to present to some and introduce to others, Mr. Willie Gary.
Thank you very much. Students, you owe me. That's right, you owe me. You owe me the promise to be all that you can be, to be the best that you can be. You do that, and everything else will take care of itself. Thank you, and may God bless you.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
My name is Alexis Branch. I attend Bennett College. Political science major, sophomore from Upper Marlboro, Maryland.
And my name is Ophelia Murray. I'm a sophomore political science major from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and I attend the illustrious Bennett College for Women. Tonight we have the privilege of honoring the amazing Pamela J. Means.
Yes.
Miss Pam has held numerous leadership positions with the National Bar Association, the nation's largest African-American bar association, including her service as the NBA's 2014 to 2015 president.
Throughout her leadership of the NBA, Pam has played a major role in the nationwide efforts to address voting rights, equal justice, education as a new civil right, and a more diverse judiciary.
In her litigation practice, Ms. Pam represents corporations, public agencies, and financial institutions on a variety of matters.
As an aside, hearing her speak earlier, it really ignited a fire in my heart.
She also has the ability to inspire people not only at this summit, but all across the nation.
She's a true inspiration and motivation.
Without further ado, please help us welcome Ms. Pamela J. Means.
Thank you. First, giving honor to God, who is the head of my life, and without him, I have no move, no being. I bless him for giving me the ability to be here. I am so honored to be inducted into the HBCU Pre-Hall of Fame with these great men and that fabulous young woman who wasn't able to be here. I understand her story. I'm also the mother of four, a 14-year-old, a 10, a 7, and a 5-year-old. And so I bless God for the ability to allow them to let me leave home and come here. But if he was here, I would give much praise and much honor to the man that is my shield, my rock, my sword, the one that is my covering, my husband, the great Dr. William Means. Without him, I couldn't do a lot of the things that I do within the National Bar Association. And as a partner at Thompson Coburn Law Firm, I had the pleasure of meeting him while I was a third-year student at Clark Atlanta University. And he was a student at ITC. And somehow we crossed paths, and his life became the better. And if he was here, he would agree. So I've been honored by many individuals, but nothing is more precious as when you are being honored by one of your own. And so this honor for me ranks supreme. And when Evangeline contacted me to ask if I would receive the honor, I cleared my calendar so I would be here not just to receive honor, but to pay tribute to a sister that is doing something so powerful. I wish I could take my name off of my award and place her name on the award, because no one deserves to be inducted into something so prestigious as a Hall of Fame than Evangeline Mitchell. I said it a little bit earlier, but I really want to express it tonight. I'm not going to give you any more tips because I've given you enough. When you travel a road that is ordained by God, the path is very narrow, and your ability to take any on their journey with you is virtually impossible. For 12 years, this sister has traveled the road with her husband on one side, her mother-in-law on another side, and her children following right behind. I know many were with her, but nobody saw the nights that she went in the hospital after the conference was over. Nobody felt the pain when she didn't have the money to pay for the bags that you so enjoyed. You are blessed to have someone like her hear from the voice of God and to follow, even if others didn't believe. So tonight, while you salute us, I really salute you, my sister. Thank you.